Hi everyone, my name is Lily and I'm the book blogger behind Utopia State of Mind, and today I'm bringing you probably my latest video ever. I feel like, and I'll link it down below, in 2022 I made a post about reading, or made a video about reading The Expanse in my 12 authors 12 book series. And then I said that it was going to kickstart a new project that I wanted to do where I was going to read a book and then see the adaptation afterwards and tell you my thoughts. I'm pretty sure that was over a year ago. I finally saw The Expanse, and I'm here to share my thoughts with you. I'm sorry it's so late. Also, I gotta be honest with you, I don't remember all the plot points for The Expanse. So take what I'm gonna say with a grain of salt. So, first of all, when I was watching The Expanse, I also realized that my conception was that the first series would be the first book. That's wrong. I actually did some research after I watched the first episode, and I found out that the first series takes part in 2/3 of the first book, and the second series is the latter half of the first book and then the second one. So, just a little bit of expectations there. I felt like I liked the introduction more, like the very first scene where they talk a little bit about the political tensions, because I think it primes you more to understand that these things happen in a more global or intergalactic context. I think that my main feelings reading The Expanse, if I recall, were that the beginning bits feels kind of like a space noir detective mystery, and then only at the end are the political and galactic ramifications really explored. And I do think that that first series or initial series opener where they talk about the different planets and the conflicts between them, it really sets you up to understand it a little bit more, or primes you to know, okay, there's going to be more involved in this. I liked that in the sense that I felt like one of the things that I really liked at the end, which kind of saved it for me because I didn't jive necessarily with all of the characters and specifically main characters, was this idea of class and resources and kind of conquest in space. So I do think that it's nice that they're kind of priming you ahead of time for that. But I also wanted to, I also was thinking about the fact that in the book, I couldn't remember if they were speaking other languages, whereas in the series, it specifically says in Belter Creole. I have no idea if this is accurate to the book, but I did think this was an interesting touch because I think it's always really fascinating when we look at science fiction stories in the future where Earth is the basis, how languages and how cultures develop over time, and in this case, a lot of time. I think that, we have these kind of two camps of science fiction where it uses Earth and our universe, our galaxy, kind of as a setting point for that, and we kind of move on to how space travel and intergalactic travel would have been in the future, or kind of a world that is completely different from anything we've ever known. So that was interesting to me. I'm not sure how that will develop in the series, and I also can't remember if that was in the books. I don't really feel like it was in the books. I also don't know how invested or involved the author, I can't remember the author's name, but the author was in the actual TV series. I think what episode 1 kind of really shows me it boils down to why I didn't really connect so well with either, what are their names? Either Holden or Miller. So Holden, for context, I'm pretty sure Holden is the captain. Or not the captain, sorry. Holden is on the spaceship and Miller is on Ceres. And so Holden, to me, kind of, both of these characters are really invested in the status quo. They're kind of just like, stuff sucks. It's the status quo. And I just felt like, as two of probably the least oppressed classes of people in this world, in this galaxy, which I think the diversity of the galaxy is pretty fairly well showcased in the first episode as well, it just felt a little bit like, does this have to be the way it has to be? Do you have to be so apathetic? I mean, it seems very realistic, but also, like, I think that the first episode reinforces why I didn't really necessarily fall in love with these characters from the beginning. And so why I enjoyed The Leviathan Wakes more in the context of the world, the mystery, and the things that it's clearly setting up for the rest of the series. Another thing that I was thinking about, and this will be the last thing I talk about before I move on to the next section, which is that from the very first episode, we can see also the ways that governments are using, or foreign entities, foreign bodies are using their sort of what they're doing as a cover for safety, as a cover for whatever they really want to. And so I'm interested to know if this is going to be something that's going to be obviously explored within the series. And this just kind of, it does make me a little bit interested to kind of find out. I just wish there'd be a way to find this out without necessarily rehashing Holden and Miller again. But anyway, I'm going to go now to the second part of the video where I'm going to talk about the adaptation and the book and all of those things as a whole. So I think that what this first episode really made me think about, specifically when I was done watching it, was how a book, it has a different audience or a different adaptation when it is turned into a series specifically. So in the rest of this series that I'm going to do for you, we're going to chat about movies. We're going to also chat about, limited series or whatever. We're not only doing TV series, because I think that this is a really hard way to do the adaptation, just because, for example, you watch season 1 and you're like, you're not even done with the first book. And so I do think it's interesting to kind of think from a perspective about what do we have to do to get people to keep watching this series that we wouldn't necessarily have to do in terms of a book. And so, for example, I felt like there was a lot of focus in the first episode about the technology, the spaceship, and things like that, which certainly located within the sci-fi world. But I didn't think that there was as much of a heavy focus on that within the book. And I do think that then part of that stems from when you're watching a sci-fi TV show series, the atmosphere, the vibe, the technology, that's what you're going for in a sci-fi show. And so that's what I first thought of thinking about in terms of the adaptation, creating a sense of this for viewers, whereas readers might have them already in their head and they wouldn't necessarily need to kind of build it that extensively. For me, if you've been following me for a while, you'll know that I'm not a very visual reader. I don't really visualize settings. I don't visualize characters. It just isn't something that I do. It's not something I'm actively not doing. It just isn't something that I'm doing, or doesn't something that comes naturally to me. So for me, watching this world in the sci-fi setting of The Expanse as a TV series, it makes me feel a little bit more like, sparks in my chest, atmospheric, because it's just not something I normally do. So I think that that's something that has to be taken into consideration in terms of adaptation, what a different audience will want from it, and what an audience will want from it who has not read or seen the original context or the original media, which I think is going to be a theme that we're going to see a lot in this series as a whole. So I know that this video has been forever in the making. I also know that it was relatively short. I don't have specific things necessarily. So I hope that this is just going to be a jumping board for the next ones. I don't know what it will be for the next project that I'm thinking about doing. I kind of really, really want to reread The Hunger Games and rewatch the movies. So if I had to put my foot down right now, that's kind of where I think we would be going. But this is going to be more of a series where I'm going to go a little bit more about my mood, and I can't really guarantee anything. So anyway, I hope that you did enjoy this video as a whole. Please let me know any comments or suggestions about things that you think I should read for adaptation purposes in the future for this series, and I will see you in the next video.